Welcome to Ektron's webinar on 6 tips to mobilize your advocates. My name is Fred Bals. And we have some housekeeping to do before we get into the main webinar. So the first thing I wanted to do for housekeeping I'm not really Fred. I don't look like this. But my companion here, Jim Williams, who's the Director of Marketing at Influitive, he looks exactly like that, don't you, Jim?
Yeah, that's right.
So, as I said, we have a little bit of housekeeping to do. So for participation, for audio, please use mic and speakers or use telephone in your audio window. If you have a question, and I hope you will have some questions, please submit your questions using the questions pane. And I wanted to make a note that a recording of this webinar will be made available on the Ektron.com site and also on slideshare.net. And we have a special treat for everybody who's watching the webinar. If you tweet with the hashtag superfans during the webinar, and that can be a question that Jim and I will answer later, not during the webinar. But if you tweet with a question or tweet anything about the webinar with the hashtag superfans, you'll be eligible to win a Starbucks gift card. We're going to be picking 2 random people who use the hashtag superfans, and we'll be in contact with you, and you'll get an Amazon gift card, or I'm sorry, a Starbucks gift card. I'm used to giving away Amazon gift cards.
Not today.
Not today. So, what we're going to try to cover in today's webinar are the big 6 tips for driving your customer advocacy program. And we're going to talk about why advocacy is an essential part of marketing in 2013, how to identify and engage your best advocates, how to mobilize those advocates. We're going to talk a little bit about reward and recognition. How do you motivate your advocates? We're going to be talking a little bit about identifying internal ownership for your advocate marketing program, and I have a few words to say about that based on my own experience with our own program, the Inner Circle. We're going to talk about how to measure results and secure executive buy-in, a very, very important thing to drive your advocacy program. So to introduce myself a little bit more, I'm the manager of Ektron's customer advocacy program. And Ektron, if you're not familiar with us, focuses on enterprise web content management software and digital experience software. We were founded in 1988. Our headquarters are in Nashua, New Hampshire, where the snow is still on the ground. We have offices in Australia, Canada, and the United Kingdom. We have a little over 200 employees, over 3,800 customers, and the Ektron software powers over 12,000 sites. And what we're trying to do with our software is help marketers connect content to revenue through best-in-class solutions for web content management and digital experience management. As you can see, some of our customers are very large name brands, including Wendy's, UPS, Darden's Restaurants, Microsoft, the MGM Grand Hotel. Also, if you do some research on Ektron, you'll see that we place very high with such industry analysts as Gartner, Forrester, and Ars Logica. I wouldn't be doing my job as the manager of Ektron's customer advocacy program if I didn't put a pitch in for my customer advocacy program, which is called the Ektron Inner Circle. I know in today's webinar we have a lot of Ektron customers who are watching. If you haven't joined the Inner Circle, I really wish you would take the time to join today. You can do that by either coming in through the link that you see below Ektron.com, community, and nominate, or feel free to contact me at fred.bals@ektron.com. And I hope you join. We have over 250 members in the inner circle today, and the more that we have, the more powerful the program is. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jim and let him tell you a little bit about Influitive.
Thanks, Fred. And thank you to those of you that took some time out of your busy day to join our webinar. A little bit about Influitive. We are a company actually based in Toronto. It's been around for about 2 years. And we're really in the business of advocate marketing. And advocate marketing we see is an evolving marketing discipline that basically takes those fans, those advocates for your company, the evangelists of your company. They may be customers, but not necessarily. They could be employees or partners. And they put those people at the heart of your marketing and sales efforts because, quite frankly, their authentic firsthand experiences with your products and services in your company are as much of a powerful message as anything you can cook up in your marketing department. And so we call that advocate marketing, and as we say here, you know, your customers love you. You need to tap into that love, and you get some very powerful results. So let's start off with the first 6 tips. I mean, the first one is, why do you need to pay attention to this, right? Why advocate marketing? Why is it so essential? And I think what's really interesting is that while we all know that customer validation is a really important part of your marketing message, right? Or we wouldn't do things like case studies and videos, and we wouldn't put our customers up at user groups speaking. So we know that as marketers. But it's only recently, over the last, say, 2 years, where it's emerged as a key priority for chief marketing officers. And this isn't just Influitive saying this, while we clearly have an agenda. It's IBM CMO survey, right? This is 1,700 CMOs globally interviewed that put turning customers into brand advocates as being a top priority. Okay, and this, like 2 years ago, it was CMOs just trying to get some sense of the perception of their brand or the sentiment of their brand by paying attention to social media monitoring services. And now it's moved from kind of watching to taking action and actually converting customers into advocates. And why is that so important? Well, because CMOs today, like most of us as marketers, realize that we are no longer in control of the buying process. As a matter of fact, we haven't been for some time. And think about it yourself. When was the last time you went and bought something and you actually picked up a phone and called a salesperson to get their opinion on their product? Like you wouldn't do that. You may call a hotel when you make a reservation, but you're probably going to go to TripAdvisor first and read the reviews. And the same thing for books and everything else. Well, all of that experience of relying on other people's firsthand experience has moved from our personal lives, what we do as consumers, into our business lives, right? We take the same approach when we buy some software for our company as we do as when we book that hotel, right? And so that means that a lot of the buying process, all of the research is going to be done well before you contact the salesperson or probably start to pay attention to marketing messages. And it means that the amount of times I'm going to seek a peer to get that firsthand experience is rapidly growing. Over the last couple of years, it's more than doubled the instance where you reach out for a peer to get their opinion. And then if you think about the most obvious example of where you use advocates today in the classic reference process, which is, hey, I'm going to connect a buyer with a customer at the end of a sales cycle. Like even that today, even though we've been doing that for years, it's still a complete fire drill, right? People scramble to find the right customer and make sure they say the right thing and get them connected. And so all of this is kind of leading to this interest in advocacy, and advocacy is a proactive approach to getting customer opinions out in front of the buying process. Another key reason why it's important, nobody trusts marketers and sellers, unfortunately, right? I mean, it's getting to the point where we're up there with lawyers and mattress salesmen. So, like, if you look at some of the results of surveys, and Edelman does a huge survey on this, and this is one that Forrester put out just recently, a couple of weeks ago. The increasing reliance on personal connections or of users or online reviews is far outweighing anything you can attempt to get with natural search engines or email campaigns or advertising, right? And this grows every year. The things at the top become much more implanted at the top of the list, and the things at the bottom continue to fall away in terms of a source of trust for buyers. So CMOs see this trend, and the question is, what can you do about it as a marketer? What can you do? Can you try and create a more authentic email campaign? No. You can go out and find those users and put them in the front of your sales and marketing efforts. Now, while the trust declines, the number of places you can go for opinion keeps skyrocketing. It seems like every month we add 2 or 3 new sites to the list of social hubs and communities and review sites where people are popping up and expressing their opinions on products and services. And so just a couple of the obvious ones are listed here, but if you're Fred, what are you going to do? If you don't call the salesperson and you don't click through the email from the vendor, what do you do? Well, you reach out to Shannon, right? And you have a chat conversation about her experience. And then she points you at someone who wrote a blog post, who then references a couple of site reviews, who then points to a discussion that's happening on Quora, right? And this just keeps growing and growing. You have this web of advocacy that people are increasingly turning into.
So with that, I'm going to move on to our tip number 2, which is how to identify and engage advocates. But right before I do that, I just want to talk a little bit about the process, about how I got engaged in customer advocacy. I started with Ektron as the person who was revamping and doing their case study program. From there, when our reference program manager moved on, I was asked to take over the reference program, and I had no background in doing reference programs at the time. So in some ways that was good because I came in with a fresh look. On the other hand, I had no idea about how to either identify and engage people who would be references. And I also want to break that up a little bit too, that a reference isn't necessarily an advocate. Advocates can be references, but when we talk about advocates, we're really talking about your champions, the people who really love your company, your products, and your services. Sometimes they can act as references. Sometimes they're giving you hard love. They want you to be the company. They want you to have the service. They want you to have the product that they really want. The picture that you're seeing right now is of a group of Ektron developers who call themselves the Ektronauts. And they have a monthly user group meeting, get together, actually created that sign, and send it to us. Those are Ektron champions. They love our product. They love working with us. They were there. I knew they were there. The trick was really how to organize and how to acknowledge them. That brought me into how do I engage our champions? If I can identify them, and I had a fairly good idea, again, from checking things like Twitter, checking Facebook, talking to our salespeople, talking to our service organization, talking to our support group, I had a fairly good handle on people who really identified with Ektron, who could act as our advocates. So my next stage was really how to engage them. And that's where Ektron created the Inner Circle program. The Inner Circle program runs on Influitive's Advocate Hub. And what it does is help us recruit, manage, and acknowledge our advocates. It's a process where we can invite customers, partners, and employees in. I can mobilize them to complete what we call challenges, which I'll talk about a little bit more. And it helps me recognize their achievements, too. And there's a number of ways that we can do that I'll talk about a little bit more. But literally, I could not do my job without the Inner Circle. And there's a slide later on in the show that you'll see which shows some of the things that we've done with the Inner Circle over the past year. So what were we trying to accomplish with the Inner Circle? There's a quote from the COO of Evernote that I really like, which is, the first job in marketing is to help us empower our fans to bring other fans on board. That's what really helps an advocacy program grow, and it helps a company grow too. So our goals for EIC were to nurture our advocates, grow our relationships with them, learn from them, and then broadcast our advocacy of Ektron to our markets through references, through tweets, through other feedback. And our advocates, as your advocates probably are our customers. For Ektron, that includes developers, designers, content authors, administrators, marketing, and other roles. Our partners, our partners are a very important part of Ektron's ecosystem. Our partners are the ones who do the implementation for the customers. We have a very, very close relationship with a number of partners. They are some of our strongest advocates to the outside world. And those partners include developers, sales, marketing, and other roles for our partners too. And finally, our advocates and your advocates too should be everyone in your company. They can be very, very helpful. Again, your sales organization, your services organization, your support group are people who you really should involve in your Inner Circle program. I'll talk again a little bit more about that in the slide, but one of the reasons I think that our program has been as successful as it has been is that we've been able to involve our product marketing group, our sales organization, and even our human resources organization with the Ektron Inner Circle. So, before we go into tip number 3, how to mobilize your advocates, I have a special challenge for everybody who's watching now. Again, if you use the hashtag superfans, whoever can name the most of these Marvel superheroes, and hopefully you're enough of a nerd as I am, a comic book nerd, that you recognize that these are Marvel superheroes. The more that you can name with the hashtag superfans, you'll get a Starbucks gift card with my thanks. So go at it. I'll give you a couple more seconds to take a look at it.
I can name 3, Fred.
I told Jim when we started, I guess that shows my level of nerdness. I could actually name back to the 3 back rows up to about where Juggernaut is, and after that it gets a little too flaky for me. But like I said, yes, a free tip for everybody: Juggernaut is the one in the middle, the big red helmet. So let's go back to how to mobilize your advocates. I'm going to talk a little bit about my direct experience with Ektron's Synergy Customer Conference, which this year we held in Washington, D.C. We have between 400 to 500 customers and partners come to our customer conference. One of the feedback that we got in the 2011 conference was a feeling that we needed to make it more customer-centric. There was a general feeling that Ektron, whether we meant it or not, was giving a little bit too much of a sales pitch. And what our customers really wanted to hear was other customers speaking. They wanted to listen to and see people who face the same problems and challenges they did and were using Ektron. So one of our major goals with the 2012 conference was to make the conference as customer-centric as possible, and the Inner Circle played a major role with that. And to start, the first thing I did, I had a very, very limited budget for my work at the customer conference, so I was bootstrapping as much as I could. One of the things that I wanted was something that would engage the entire audience and say that our customers were the most important thing for Ektron, our customers and our partners. So I put up a challenge in the Inner Circle, which you'll see over on the left, which was provide a short video of you saying that you were Ektron. I am Ektron. And the response was amazing. Within the space of a week, I had 40 videos. Links to videos sent to me, videos from customers and partners. If you go on YouTube and search I am Ektron, you'll see that clip. And that ran at the at the opening of the Synergy ceremony, and everybody seemed to enjoy it, not least because a lot of people who were in the video actually were at the conference. This is probably my my major win with the Inner Circle. It's one of the most popular challenges I've ever done to date, which is kind of amazing. But as you know, in customer conferences, there's usually interstitial music between presenters. And I actually woke up in the middle of the night, and I said, I can use Spotify. And if I use Spotify, I can tell anybody in the Inner Circle who has Spotify to give me their one great song. And I can create a Spotify playlist. I don't have to worry about CDs or anything. I'll just use my iPhone. So I put up the challenge. I became a DJ, Fredmaster Flash. I put together the ultimate Spotify playlist, and we had submissions upon submissions. And one of my favorite moments at Synergy was as I was also doing videotaping of the conference. I was sitting at a podium, and in the customer audience, we played some music from the playlist, and all of a sudden the person piped up, "That's my song. I submitted that on the Inner Circle." And the person next to her said, "What's the Inner Circle?" So I actually jumped down off the podium when I had a second, gave her my card, and said, "Come join the Inner Circle too." But that's a great way to engage customers, is to give them a challenge like that where they really feel that they're participating in something. One of the goals that I have is to recruit customers to submit to the Ektron Site of the Year. Our normal process to do that was to talk to sales, send out solicitation emails, tweet about it a little bit. We never got as many submissions as we thought that we should have. Again, using the Inner Circle, I created a challenge asking for submissions to the Ektron 2012 Site of the Year Award, which, by the way, was won by my friends at Hendrix College. Congratulations to them again. And we had more submissions than we ever have in the entire history of the Ektron Site of the Year Award. Over 50 submissions, and an unexpected consequence of the submission process was out of those 50 submissions, I was able to generate over 10 case studies where I went back to talk to customers because many of the submissions were so detailed that they had done my job for me. It was simply going back and getting customer approval, and then doing case studies too. So again, a way to mobilize your advocates, have them have some fun, have them give themselves some publicity, and in that way also have them help your company. Finally, again, I have a limited budget, but one of the things that I try to do is create as many video interviews as possible because they're fast. Many people much rather like the synopsis of a video interview rather than having to read a traditional case study. So my goal is to do as many video testimonials as I can. My problem is that I have customers all over the world and I have a limited budget. Synergy is really my ground zero to collect customer testimonials and case studies. So again, I put out a challenge. The traditional way would have been to email, follow-up emails, talk to sales, talk to our services organization, talk to our support group, plead with people, and try to put together a list. The Inner Circle really automated that process. What happened was that I was able to get hours of footage. Again, if you go to Ektron TV, our YouTube challenge, you'll see many of those Synergy videos online. And I did dozens of interviews. In fact, I'm way behind on videos. I still have videos that I created back in November that I simply haven't had the time to put online. So I'm a victim of my own success. Some numbers. I wanted to talk about the Ektron Inner Circle in action. I'm very, very proud of what we've been able to do with the Inner Circle, but we've just started. We're going to be doing a heck of a lot more this year in 2013. But Coordinating our references through the inner circle, soliciting some of them, in any case, making sure that any person who is a reference for Ektron is part of the inner circle program. Since we started the inner circle, which has been about 18 months now, we've coordinated over 200 reference contacts through the inner circle. As I noted, we had over 50 nominations for our 2012 Site of the Year Award. One of the things that we just recently started, we started this in January, is we're now using the inner circle for our product management group. We're using that heavily. We've had over 73 sign-ups to participate in beta programs, to try out new Ektron features, to try out the latest version of our software. We use a editor called the R.O.A editor. Part of our product includes what we call eSync, and also we have a support group. All of those things we've asked for feedback on in the inner circle. That information has been sent over to the people within the organization, and the feedback I've done within Ektron is that they're both amazed and happy with the amount of feedback that we're now getting. It's always been difficult beforehand to do so. Not sure why that popped up. Okay. And finally, we've had over 247 tweets, probably more now, 25 LinkedIn recommendations, dozens of survey responses, testimonials, quotes that we use on our website, all generated by the inner circle. And as you can see on the screen over to your right, that's what an inner circle challenge looks like, and some of the challenges that we're currently running in our inner circle program. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Jim and get my voice back.
Thanks, Fred. So, I mean, I think that is a wildly successful advocate marketing program that Fred just walked through with Ektron. And it spans a whole bunch of activity types, everything from getting product feedback to user-generated content to social media promotion to videos and case studies, etc. And I think that's really the key to success, is have a varied approach to what you're asking your advocates to do for you. But that brings up the question, is a question that we run into all the time. Why are these customers who are paying you dollars, why are they taking time out of their day to go and promote your company, your product, your brand? Right? They didn't shell out the money for Ektron out of their own wallet, right? They bought it for their business. Like, what is it that motivates them? And this brings up a lot of questions and a lot of debates. And I'll say that, you know, my hint is it's not about the rewards. To go back to our theme of the presentation, Superman may get the key to the city when he does something, but that's not why he does his super things, right? He doesn't do it for the gifts, for the rewards. He's doing it for the social capital. So let's explore that a little bit. There's a variety of ways that you can reward and recognize your advocates when they participate in a program. And it kind of goes on this left to right kind of layout that I put here on the slide. And as you notice, like, the title of this slide is Capital, Not Cash, right? Nobody participates in an advocacy program because they're going to get a gift card, right? Nobody goes and promotes Ektron's brand. They don't submit their content. They don't do their videos because they think they can register to win the iPad mini on the left, or the wine gift basket, or the cards. Now, that does not mean you cannot use those things. In fact, those are very good tactics to use to simply say, thank you, we're listening. I kind of put it as we see what you're doing and we appreciate it, thank you. So are those appropriate? I think they're very appropriate, as long as they're within a certain dollar amount that does not seem like it's straightforward bribery for advocacy.
I feel very, very strongly about that also. What we try to do is acknowledge our advocates, not reward them, and not give them awards. And actually, we have a tool in the Advocate Hub called Perks. And one of the things that I like is many of our advocates do things that I wasn't expecting, that we hadn't had planned out, wasn't even part of a challenge. They'll do something on Twitter. They'll publish a blog post about Ektron, which they hadn't told me about. And what I do is I kind of think of Fred swooping in from on high and to the inner circle members saying, really, really appreciated that. Here's a perk that we're giving you. So it's not a, you do something for me, we'll do something for you sort of thing. It's, again, as Jim said, it's an acknowledgement of the fact that we see you, that you're important to us, and we want you to know that.
Yep. So where do you go from there if the gift cards is not the appropriate way? So I kind of move again to the right. I'd move to the next thing, which is we're listening to you. The next best thing you can do, right, is simply have open access. This is why people advocate for you today. They feel strongly about your product and service. They believe in your company's mission. They believe that what you're doing is critical to their career, and they want to have a voice. They want to feel like they're in the tent. And so I've seen a number of really good recognition programs that are simply about access, meaning once a quarter you join the customer advisory board, or we assign an executive to your account just to call you and touch base to see how it's working for you. Okay, you get first access to new products. Not so you can beta test it, because we want to hear your opinion. Or you join a product roadmap call, or even a product sprint. Right? So these are all types of things that advocates love, because they feel like they're part of the organization. And then finally, I think the highest value thing that advocates are looking for that you can do is contribute to the social capital. Right? Advocacy is somewhat a selfish act. Right? I'm not just doing it to help you. I'm doing it because helping you helps me. The more I talk about how much I love Ektron, the more I advertise to my next boss that I am an expert with Ektron tools and services. Right? That's why you hire me. That's why I command top dollar, because I know so much about the company and the products and services. And so what you can do to help those advocates is boost them up. Right? Recognize their skills and experience on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's doing a great job right now of crowdsource recognition for your experience, a detailed experience, like very finite things, like skills and expertise. You can help their cloud score. You can retweet them. You can comment on their blog posts. You can write them a recommendation on their LinkedIn page that people will actually pay attention to. You can link into them. And you can do things like put them on stage in front of their peers, or get them into the media, or invite them to participate in the Q&A. Okay, so those are all things that we kind of simplify. We're behind you. Not only do we see what you did and we hear you, but we're actually behind you in your career. You matter to us. And the next slide is, because people are always looking for examples of this, I kind of just wrote up a quick top 10 list, I think, of really interesting examples of how you can love your advocates back. Right? So count the ways. We've got 10 here. Again, I mentioned some of these, like guest blogging, some media interviews, but things like inviting the advocates to join you on executive retreats or roundtables, or making sure they get to industry conferences, or helping them on their certifications that help their careers, all of those are really, really valuable. I've seen some companies that run advocacy programs do an awesome job of special status, pins, buttons, velvet rope, front row seating at user conferences, upgrades on your hotel rooms when you come to our user conferences. Have somebody, like, literally, there are stations that are set up at user conferences that actually recognize advocates and give them special treatment. But not just user conferences alone. There's ways you can do this throughout the year. For technical audiences, Ektron's a great example. Participation in product sprints, roadmaps, direct access to engineers and development resources is incredibly important for advocates. And for others, like in the marketing space, social media love, creating a personal, like helping someone's personal brand is really, really important to them. I've also seen other examples too, quite frankly. It depends how far you want to go, but I have seen examples where some companies actually have prioritized job interviews, right? Like sometimes people love the company so much, they want to join the company, and there's no question that they should get high priority and meet with the right people if that ever happens. That's all part of the advocacy program where you're giving back to the people that are helping to promote your company. So just a little bit about this. So where do you get started? And I think Fred has a lot to contribute here, but I'll say just this, this one kind of observation. It takes an owner, okay? And a lot of times with marketing, it's like you have so many projects that are coming up and so many tactics you got to manage and so many best practices that you have to master. And it's like, oh, is advocacy yet another thing? Well, yes, it is. It is a big thing. And if you don't have someone that owns it, in all likelihood, the program will not have the impact that it should, right, and that it could. So start with an owner, but at the end of the day, that will blossom into what I call, it takes a village. Eventually, you want to have that person reaching out to everyone else in the organization to create a groundswell of opportunities for your advocates to participate.
As Jim said, it does take an owner. That's what I do for Ektron at the Inner Circle. But I sometimes think of it as more of a ringleader, or maybe somebody who's herding cats than somebody who's officially in charge of a program. Because one of the things that makes an advocacy program work is to get everyone in your organization involved. You need somebody there as a central coordinator who is watching over the program, who is working directly with your advocates. But your program can be so much more if you do get everyone in the organization involved. And for example, with Ektron, our product management, our engineering, and our support teams can get feedback, can get more feedback on desired product feature, and be told what's working with Ektron and what's not working. Our sales and marketing organization, which I belong to, gets out of the Inner Circle such things as references, such thing as direct referrals, which is very, very important to our bottom line, and also participation in marketing activities, such as this webinar, for example, and other activities that we do. So what we've started to do, and this is still a very early version of our program. We just started this in 2013, but what we're doing is creating goals for each of our departments to participate, contribute, and create challenges for the Inner Circle. Again, those are coordinated through me, but for example, our product marketing group has really taken up the Inner Circle baton, and they're literally giving me 2 to 3 challenges a week that I'm spacing out over different times. They love it. They love the feedback that they're getting. It's been a very big success with us. I've started to involve our HR organization for the Inner Circle for our program. One of the things I should probably mention about Advocate Hub, because I've been asked about that before, is we're able actually to segment our advocates into different groups. So I have a customer group, I have a partner group, and I have an employee group. And one of the cool things about Advocate Hub is that with that segmentation, I can create special challenges for those groups and actually hide those challenges from other groups too. So employee challenges I create are necessarily challenges I want either our customers or partners to see. Jim, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I just think your observation on product marketing is really astute. It's kind of Kim, it's a bit of a surprise to us how many times we find customers assigning product marketing as the owner of this. But it really makes sense at the end of the day. Product marketing, while the goal is the right positioning of the product in the marketplace, it requires constant feedback, right? Good product marketers are constantly listening, right? And so it's a great place to start. Not to mention they run things like beta programs. They need to get product reviews. They want to get analysts talking to customers. All of those things where you're going to have to ask a customer to do something, sometimes they're owned by product marketing, and it's very common for a product marketer to be an owner of an advocacy program. So that kind of brings us to tip number 4, which is measuring the return on your advocate marketing and, quite frankly, getting executive buy-in. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about how some of our customers have done that, but I also want to be kind of provide some cautionary language here. Don't get too fixated on the return, right? Like, think about it. If you're a marketer, you do case studies constantly, you've been doing it for decades, you create videos all the time. right? You get customers to speak at events. Do you calculate what the ROI is? Do you have to prove the ROI of the case study you're going to write? No, you don't. Why? Because everybody knows instinctively that the more examples of customers, satisfied customers talking about their success that you can get in the marketplace, the better off you'll be. So that's my cautionary tale. Start an advocacy program. Don't try and calculate your ROI before you get started with it, because it's an incredibly important part of your marketing, and its importance grows with every passing year. So let's look at R.O.A, return on advocacy. How can you factor this in? This is straight from Forrester Research, who talks all the time about measuring the return on your customer community, and they look at 3 primary factors, right? They look at revenue, it's the most obvious one, top line growth. They look at number 2, cost deflection, bottom line optimization, and then 3, which is I consider to be a distant third, but quite frankly motivates a lot of spending decisions, is earned media, eyeballs and traffic. So we'll take a quick look at how that breaks down. I kind of put this into my own little my Venn diagram here. I have revenue on top because I think to me it's the most important metric that you can influence, right? And there's really 3 key examples of advocacy or advocate programs that directly impact revenue. First, traditional reference programs today, as we discussed at the beginning of this, they tend to be disorganized. They tend to be siloed, meaning when the reference manager is trying to find a customer to jump on a phone call, they have no idea that product marketing is also talking to that person. And, you know, the CEO's assistant also reached out to someone in the account to be on the customer advisory board, et cetera, right? So references are a key part of revenue acceleration, right? And it's great to see you've had more than 200 examples of where the Ektron Inner Circle served as an active reference to help move a deal through.
That's exactly right.
Right. So how do you measure that? Well, you got to make sure that every single reference account, reference activity is on an opportunity, and then you can measure a couple of things. You can look at dollar size for those deals. You can measure the acceleration. What is the time in stage in your pipeline? Those deals that have references versus don't have references. One right in the middle, and I put smack dab in the middle for a reason, is referral programs. Why are referral programs so important? Well, because everybody loves to talk about running a referral program, but nobody seems to do it in an organized or persistent way. It tends to be another scramble. Oh my God, end of the quarter, we're a little bit short. Can we go out and ask our customers to refer us new names? Why do you do that? Because referrals move about twice as fast through the pipeline as any other lead source, and they tend to be better customers, right? And so how do you manage a referral program? Well, through an advocacy program, you make that a staple of the advocacy program, right? Referring names is a constant thing that's available to you in one of these programs. It's not a end of the quarter scramble, I'm going to send an email request. Analyst interviews. I think you've got a great example of where, Fred, you were talking earlier about how you needed to get a bunch of customers on the phone with a key partner or analyst in order to keep a program going. Again, it's another example of that. It's a scramble to get the right people talking to analysts, and yet the more mentions you can get of customers and customer success and analyst reports, the healthier your pipeline and the shorter your time frames, your sales cycles. Real quickly on cost deflection and traffic, you said something earlier. They did my job for me, right? You ask for you ask for award nominations, you get case studies. If they don't do your job for you, how much time do you spend on that? Does it take 6 weeks to get a case study done at an optimal? Reviews, legal reviews, mumbo-jumbo, production, sending it out there. Not only can you have people create their own case studies, removing that cost from your budget, but they'll actually promote their own case studies, right? Advocates want to promote themselves as much as you. You write a case study about them, they send it to their network. So win-win. And finally, on the traffic side, so much attention is focused on social media and how social media drives traffic, and not enough is focused, I think, on product reviews and product discussion sites and how much traffic, qualified traffic, they can drive for you. So I'd say, to me, another reason why product marketing is a key owner of advocacy programs, because the return, the traffic, and the qualified leads you can get from third-party product reviews is incredibly high, and I think it's a little bit underutilized with many B2B organizations that I see. So 3 ways to think about what the return or revenue impact is for your advocacy program.
And with that, we're at the end of the webinar. I just wanted to add one thing that just happened a couple of days ago. Again, talking about how you promote your advocacy program within your organization. Our chief evangelist, who has done a wonderful job in evangelizing the inner circle within Ektron too, came to me and needed immediately at least 10 customers to fill out a survey. We put a challenge up in the inner circle, and I did a special limited challenge for only the first 15 people who responded. Within 10 minutes after I posted that challenge and emailed it to our advocates, I had those 15 people willing to respond to the survey, and I actually had 3 emails from people who came in like 11 minutes later and were disappointed that they couldn't be part of the challenge too. It just goes to show how powerful an advocacy program can be used, and it's been a delight working with the inner circle. I'm really looking forward to 2013 to see what more we can do with it. Just wanted to see if we had any questions. We'll have Sharon bring them up. Also feel free to email either me or Jim, or you can tweet at me. Jim, I forgot to put up your Twitter handle. I'm sorry about that.
Influitive is fine.
Okay, you can reach Jim at Influitive. You can reach me at Fred at Ektron, fred.bals at ektron.com. Always delighted, as you can probably tell, to talk about the Inner Circle program. Sharon, do we have any questions?
Sure, we have a few. Fred, how many active Inner Circle members do you have, and how long did it take to current day for the number of people that you have?
Active is kind of flexible term. For any given challenge, our activity hits between 50 to 60 advocates. We've run some challenges where we've actually had many, many more advocates engaged. We have approximately, the last time I checked, which I believe was late last week, we have 250 advocates. As I said, probably 60 to 70 of them are engaged with any challenge. One of the interesting things that I've found is I email a special challenge to my advocates once a week. And what I've found is a lot of times advocates will come in to answer one challenge, and challenges that I've had posted up there for a while, they'll also fill out, which I think is kind of cool. So what will happen is an advocate who hasn't been particularly engaged will all of a sudden answer 2 or 3 challenges all at once in one move. I'm sorry, Sharon, what was the second part of that question?
And the second part is, sorry, going through this. We actually got a lot going on. So the second part is, how long did it take you to get to where you are with the number of advocates?
It's an ongoing process. We started with a very small group of advocates. We probably started with less than 50 advocates. Actually, smaller than that, too. When we first started with Advocate Hub, we started a beta program just for tweets. Went to what we call our most valuable players, which is something that our chief evangelist has as a small group of developers around him who he calls his MVPs. And they started the Inner Circle. But part of my job is to recruit as many customers as I can into the Inner Circle program. As I said, references, anybody that I find on Twitter, anybody who's talking about Ektron. Sometimes they're not champions, but even those we want in there because they're the people who give us the best feedback.
And do they participate on their own, or do you prompt them through emails or social channels?
One of the nice things, again, about the Inner Circle and the Advocate Hub is the gamification of it. So we have people who are really into gaming, who like collecting badges, who like being up on the challenge board. As I said, what I do is what I've found is if I email our advocates on a late Sunday, early Monday with a challenge, and sometimes it's just a fun challenge. I've done things like go view Ektron's Christmas video and given 50 points to it, or something else. Again, that's the prompting. If I can get them into the Inner Circle community, they'll usually do one or two other challenges, as I said. But it's a combination of prompting, and I said I have a small hardcore group of advocates who come into the inner circle every day.
Do you ever reward advocates with special pricing or other economic incentives?
Have not done that. I'm not sure that we would. It's not anything that I've brought up. Right now, as I said, our acknowledgement of advocates is essentially gift cards, perks. We've had dinner with our executives. We've had other special events for inner circle members.
I'd just add in something that's worked really well with other companies we've seen doing this is the reward is a charitable donation, right? So we'll actually sponsor a charitable donation, and if you come in, we'll make a donation on behalf of your name because you've been doing a lot of rewards, and we find that's another really good motivator for people.
Yeah, Jim, that's a very good point that I had missed. It's probably one of our highest redemptions are people who are donating to the charity of their choice.
And then what is the ratio between engaged and unengaged? Do you know?
Well, as I said, it's a flexible thing. We have, and like I said, any given challenge, and the ratio's been going up. We have about 60. We have 250 members, so the ratio isn't as high as I would like. And again, that's part of my ongoing goal is to keep on engaging and engage as many people as possible. What I really want is when I go into the inner circle every morning is to see a big community who has gone there on their own. That's something I'm still building on.
Yeah, I think I would say to that too is the trick of engagement really is about the appropriateness of the challenge. And so that's why you mentioned a little bit about segmentation. You know, getting a product review or product recommendation is not the same as asking you to speak on stage. And so you really need to think about what motivates your advocates at the level that they're at, right, and their interest. And that's the key to engagement. And so we advise with many of our customers to take a look through their advocates and do some basic segmentation. Say, all right, well, are these executive type advocates? Are they power user advocates? Are they administrator advocates? Are they in marketing? Are they in a technical position? And then think about what your challenge strategy is around those. What are the things that they're likely to respond to? And a lot of people come back and say, well, executives, they're not going to go for this. They're too busy. They're not in the gamification. And we actually see it's exactly the opposite. Very senior people tend to be the most engaged advocates because, again, if you looked at that reward spectrum, they're primarily concerned with their reputation, their experience, and their exposure. And a lot of these advocacy programs give that back to them.
So with new advocates coming online at different times, how do you keep track of what challenges each advocate has seen?
I'm going to let Jim answer that because it's the Advocate Hub. In brief, I have a dashboard in the Advocate Hub. Without giving too much of a pitch to Influitive, as much as I love them, you might want to take a trip over to their website. I believe they have a free demo that you can see, no obligation. Easier to visualize than to talk about. If you can still see our screen, which I hope you can, that's the Ektron Inner Circle. I have a dashboard that shows who's logged in, what challenges they've completed. If they're in a staged challenge, which is something I have to approve in order to have it, I get those sort of messages about it. As I said, Jim and the people in Influitive can talk a little bit more about the tracking or what have you. But the bottom line is that I know what's going on with my advocates. I know what their activity is. I know what challenges they've completed. I know what's worked and what hasn't. It's one of the reasons I like it.
I reiterate, why listen to me when you can listen to my customer?
Yeah, who's an advocate?
Next question. Do you ever remove inactive advocates?
I do. What I do is I send out a reminder message after I've sent out the invitation to join. The system will automatically send a follow-up invitation about a month later. If the advocate hasn't responded to either of those invitations, I send out a personal message to the advocate. Sometimes I get a thanks, I forgot all about it. Sometimes I've been captured in their spam filter. So it's a good thing sometimes to do a personal intervention. It's interesting. I've only had, out of everybody who's joined the inner circle, I've only had one person ask to drop out because he just wasn't interested in the challenges and was too busy. Out of the removals, I invited quite a bit of people into the inner circle. I probably remove 5 or 6 per quarter. Don't hold me on that number, but probably around that number.
I'll also comment, like, everybody runs their advocate program a little bit different. I think it's dependent on who your users are and what type of communication and activities they like. We have seen equally successful advocate program where there is a big barrier to you getting in. It is very exclusive, right? Like, we're going to open up the advocate program once a quarter and only 50 people can get in. So get started with your application now. And that actually, not only does it drives more interest, right, the psychology of the exclusivity, but you tend to get a lot of activity out of people, right? They feel committed. They got into this thing. They feel like they need to maintain a certain level of activity in order to stay in the program.
And then a final question is, when do you invite customers into the program? And that could be, to what Jim had just said, quarterly, or is this something that you do on length of the relationship with Ektron?
Yep, I do it on literally a daily basis. As you can see again on the screen, we have people. My process is you nominate yourself. If I don't recognize you, and we have, Ektron actually has a small enough user community that many names I actually recognize. So if you nominate yourself and I know you, you're in. I may do some research on you because we do only allow customers, partners, or developers who may be working independently, but our chief evangelist knows too. So it's an ongoing thing. So I'm always inviting people.
Yeah. We also see it work really well. A couple of things. One is empower other people in your organization to extend personal invitations. That tends to work really well. So a perfect example of this is which you wouldn't normally think is a source for advocates, but if you go to your tech support organization, those same people who called in and are pissed off when they call tech support, they get off that call really happy, right? Because they talked to someone took the time, they listened to them, solved their problems. You get off that, and those are the people that tweet and say, thank God for blah, blah, blah tech support. They allow me to get my job done, whatever the case may be. Those people are great candidates for advocacy. Other places that you can look for advocates to send invitation is if you run a Net Promoter Score program, and many companies do, those people that say that they're promoters may actually be promoters. Now, a word of caution that there's a big difference between saying you'll recommend to a friend and actually doing you'll recommend to a friend, but it's a likely place, obvious place for you to go and look for your next group of advocates to join.
And now that we're running short on time, we have one more question that we can field. So here we go. What is the balance between challenges that advocate your brand, challenges that help advocates, and let me see this one, challenges that help your advocates, and challenges are purely there for fun to increase engagement in the hub? So what's the balance between the two?
The balance between the two is starting to equal out. I'm learning. I started this off by saying I started off as a case study writer. I became a customer reference program manager. Now I'm an advocacy program manager. I'm learning as I go along. What I've learned is that giving a fun challenge, and I don't know, maybe I throw in 1 or 2 a month, something that's just pure fun. I'm actually working on something called the Great Ektron Scavenger Hunt with Influitive 2. Which is going to be a fun challenge for advocates. It's again, I'm trying to stay away from the you do something for me, I'll do something from you thing. We're a community. What I want to do is, my champions are already there. I'll tell you the truth. If the inner circle and I went away tomorrow, Ektron's champions would still be there. That's who they are. It's what they do. So what I want to do again is acknowledge them and have some fun. When we do our next synergy. We've had some great ideas internally about how to really acknowledge our inner circle members. I'm looking forward to that.
I would just add in one quick point on that is that, yes, we occasionally, with our own advocacy program, we'll do really fun things like, who's going to win the Super Bowl and stuff like that, just kind of fun, keeping the dialogue going. But I find that the things where we get a lot of engagement, which is not actually asking the advocate to go and promote any product or service, is I rely on our advocates as a sounding board for our own marketing strategies, right? So when we think about putting together our next big campaign, I'll go to them and say, how do you think we should promote? What do you think of these 3 options? I have 3 creatives on a landing page. Which do you like? And A, they get to make their opinion heard, and B, when they make their opinion heard, they're bought into your marketing, just like they're bought into your mission. And it's a thing that really keeps engagement up, and it's very helpful as a marketer to get that feedback instantaneously.
So we're going to wind it up. I want to thank you all for putting up with me. I'm not the world's greatest presenter, but I do love the inner circle. I do love what I'm doing. Again, I love answering questions about it. Feel free to drop me an email on it. Go check out, like I said, Influitive and the Advocate Hub. I really think customer advocacy is the wave of the future in marketing, and I suspect we're going to be seeing and hearing a lot more about it. So thank you all again. It's been fun.
And thank you. Thanks, Fred, and thanks to the audience for